I was about to say, so you know what? Why don't you guys tell us, like, right? Like, let's start the origin story of like
Yeah.
you guys meeting each other.
That shit's bugged out. You want me to
I
start or Don Tique started?
I met CF on the steps of Ferris High School. My pops didn't want me to go to Wingate, and if he would have sent me to Wingate, I probably wouldn't have went. So we moved to Jersey City and went to Ferris. And
I was about to say these are Jersey City high schools, aren't they?
yeah,
Wingate
yeah,
is
yeah.
Brooklyn, I think, right?
Wingate is Brooklyn, and then we moved to Jersey City. He put me in the Ferris High School, even though we at the time we lived in Newark. We used one of his friends' address, and and I
You
went to
remember?
school in Jersey City. But I like we was on the steps, and me and I met Saya first. Saya was rhyming. I walked up. I started rhyming. I do Jihad that he was talking about in one of the songs was holding the radio, and then CF walked up and he started rhyming, and we just all went at it again, and was friends from that day because we all thought each other was dope. I like their style, they like my style. That was
Yeah.
that from my end.
We wrote a song. We wrote a song that first day. We wrote a, you I think you, well, you dropped Dutch when we came from the other job on that stagehand joint in the Sprinter. Remember when I told you to drop me off right here at the high school? That's the high school where I met Don
Yeah.
Tique at. Right by the
Oh, word.
projects. It's right across from the project. So we
That's actually like a stone's throw away from like the Holland Tunnel. Like it's right
yeah.
there.
Yeah. We right close to the we close, we wild close to New York. Out of all the points that's close to New York, to downtown Manhattan, to where the Twin Towers was at, Jersey City would be the closest in the Jersey side. On the other side is Brooklyn, because Brooklyn is to the east of Manhattan and Jersey City's to the west, where the East River separates downtown Brooklyn from downtown Manhattan. The Hudson River
The
separates
Hudson
downtown
River.
Jersey City
Yeah.
from downtown Manhattan. So like when I met Don Tique or whatever, there was a buzz in the high school that there was a signed rapper, and I was like, signed rapper? I thought I was the nicest motherfucker out there. And then I met Tique, and he was wild nice. Tike's style was reflective of the area that he came from, Brownsville, Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Boot camp click, all of that. He had that suave. He had more swag, and he landed on the snare better than me because I was practicing that unorthodox style that was brought forth by like the Grave Diggers, very RZA influence, very Sons of Man ish when Wu Tang was really popping. Very I always wanted to be like so experimental with my shit and be abstract that I would replicate like Cool Keith's kind of offbeat style and the offbeat style of In Company Flow. I think this pre Uncompany Flow though, but it was like around that time when people were using both of those styles in New York City. You can either be off the snare and do the offbeat shit, which is whatever, or you could be Brooklyn
In the
style
pocket.
on the
In
snare
the
in the
it's not
pocket
even it's New York.
chanting.
That's just like classic New York style, that pocket that is just like, man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like fuck, that pocket is beautiful. Like,
So
I'm
Nas
in
in
a
the pocket, you already know like that Nas shit that he's in
yeah,
the pocket
yeah,
on the snare,
yeah, yeah.
and I was practicing the other style, but there was an exchange as me and Don Tique started to, as our friendship developed, we exchanged styles and shit in some sort of way. And I got back into being more on snare and shit, and he incorporated some of the abstract shit, and then that all them years of doing that and like changing our styles and like sparring with each other and shit like that brought about what the BMR sound is currently. So it's something that happened organically. It's not something that we was like fucking, this is the BMR sound. Nah, BMR sound was a mixture of whatever was going on in Brooklyn at that time, and then whatever was also going on in 90s hip hop in Jersey also, and mainly it's really a mixture of grave diggers and offbeat and uh boot camp click style, and then fused into one shit and created what we got now, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It used to be my man Sire, like I said, and then he got murdered in '99 by his girlfriend, and our styles was still in development. And
Rest
then
in
as
peace.
time goes
Rest
on,
in peace
we
for
came
real.
to where we got out now. So, but
Yeah,
like
I
that
got it.
history was bugged out because that first day we wrote a song together, right? T, we wrote a song, Russian Roulette, I think.
Yeah, that shit was dope too.
Yo, how did
and
y'all
then
come up with that
from there,
name? When did you come up with the name?
What, BMR?
well,
Yeah.
Billion Man Rebellion?
yeah,
In Amsterdam. It was supposed to be like an album, and we were in Amsterdam. What that was 2000, and we were
I,
thinking about album names, and CF came up with Billion Man Rebellion, and we was just like hold off on it. We'll get to that as far as an album at some point because we were already recording the album out there, and instead of using it as an album name, we use it as a crew name because we've been looking for a name as a group for a long time, going through a whole bunch of different names, and none of them really stuck. So when we went back to BMR, we when we pulled that back in, it changed everything as far as like the outlook on the group. We ain't got to look for no other name after this.
yeah, that shit was bugged out because we used to have another group called UN. When it was me and my boy Side, we was Caesar Destruction, and then with Don Tique, and then we became UN 3, right? United Nations to the third, because it was three of us and shit. Like always, things always start out in trilogies, the Holy Father, Jesus, the Son, God, all that shit, and it's the Holy Spirit, whatever fuck. And then Puerto Ricans being black, Indian, white, trilogies, there's always a trinity there and shit like that. But
Let me
when
see.
Saya
See,
got,
one more time. He was showing his tattoo.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, that
he
three.
got the he
Yeah, I
got the
got the
three.
three.
So the three
Yeah,
signified
yeah.
like me, Don Tique, Juan, and myself. Then since Saya got murdered, it was only two of us, and me and Don Tique got closer. And but around us there was a group of other people that together created UN 3, but we still didn't have BMR yet. We did an album together called UN, called UWAP, Unorthodox Poetry, when we lived in Amsterdam. We were invited. Long story short, my boy Jeff Vermeer was a producer. He got connected through Don Teague's father Don with some other uh, financier in Amsterdam who got us to go out there and do an album. So we did one album, but while we were out there, we were thinking about other ideas for future albums. And BMR, Billion Man Rebellion, was a topic, and that didn't come to fruition till about 17 years later.
Damn.
that's like a
So
Yeah,
we
because
long
we
didn't
were both
time.
doing a bunch of solo projects, and
we did
it,
mad
it
solo
take
projects
it
and
take
shit.
time to get to the point where you like, come on, man, we need to just do this shit. At 20 years later, we do another album since because we did the first album in 2000. 2020 we did another album, like, and then
Yeah,
now like 2021 we did another album. Like it took a minute for us to get past the I gotta be solo. I gotta just do my album all the time shit. When we came
Yeah.
together, it's something different. First we did like a mixtape as like a trial run without us even knowing it was a trial run, and we seen we could do it. So then we just said fuck it.
yeah. And then I started when Cheek had saying he got a family, taking care of his family, doing what he gotta do. I was um I was mourning Sia's death, so I was going across the water to New York City. In the meanwhile, Teak was always recording music, learning how to produce, learning, mastering the in and outs of how it is to engineer and mix and shit like that. I was out there going back to New York City to the open mic scene, and my boy Amir put me on to some shit called the End of the Week show at Baby Jupiter's at that time, and that's when I
I
started
don't mean to cut
rocking
you
at
off, but my
Baby
phone about
Jupiter's
to
and
die,
shit.
and I'm out in these
Got you,
streets. Just letting y'all
got you,
know.
got you, got you. So like, and it's getting to that point. So I was rocking at Baby Jupiter's at the EO Dub show, End of the Week show, and that's where I met Immortal Technique, and I got cool with Immortal Technique, and then eventually I signed to his label, about 10 years later when I met him in 2000. He had a label called Viper Records. I signed to them. I did an album called Ascension. I traveled the world on with him. I went on Tim Westwood and all these other places and shit like that. And then while I was on the label, I was gonna drop a second album, but I guess there was some things going on with the label and a lot of other issues. I was just like, you know what? Me and Teak might as well just drop the shit that we had. because I couldn't not have music out, and I know it was so much amazing stuff that Don Tique and myself put together. And I always my main goal was when I got the Viper was to get to a point where Don Tique and myself could do an album on Viper Records and travel the world together. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't work like that. So we
Right.
dropped our album. I didn't know how to drop the album. I didn't have no finances. I didn't have no backup. So I asked one of the fans, because I traveled extensively with Immortal Technique and I guess developed, amassed a little bit of a fan base. And one of the fans, I was like, yo, I don't got no money, B. What should I do and shit? They was like, yo, I want to drop this album that I got that Don Tique made and my man DJ Static produced, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. All I need is some money so I could mix it down and, put out videos and shit like that. So they like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Start a GoFundMe. Like, what's the worst that could happen? You got $15. If you only get $15, at least you have $15 more than what you had. I said, fuck it. And so I put it to GoFundMe. And mad people told me don't do it. But I was like, man, fuck it. And then look, I raised $5,000 from the shit. And
That's
that was the
wild.
album that we used to finance Static Files. And the Static Files was produced entirely by DJ Static. DJ Static is a real down to earth homie that we all know and shit like that. He's a Immortal Technique's personal tour DJ, and he's the great homie who's been producing for a lot of people within the New York City open mic scene for quite some time. And having DJ Static with Don Tique and myself together, all blue collar people, we all work. We don't live off our music. He worked for Con Edison. I work for the Hudson County Register's office. Don Tique works as a porter for one of the developments out here in Jersey City. So we all got blue collar jobs. We all representative of the working class, and
That's dope.
we put in our
And by the way,
music.
for the people who are tuning in who aren't from the New York area, Con Edison is essentially like our electric company.
Cause yeah, sometimes I just like those are names. But yo, can I just say one thing
Yeah,
about
like
your videos? Cause I watched your music
yeah.
videos. I thought it was super cool that you had the Uber one, and then you had the one where it follows up
Oh
and it's
yeah.
like you get out the Uber and the video starts off and he's like, "Yo, that was a crazy Uber ride." And
Yeah,
honestly, I
yeah.
just thought it was like well made. I didn't watch everything that you did, but there was all your stuff have storylines and things like that to tie it together.
Yeah, with that one specifically, we was like, cause we didn't have a real budget, and we had to be resourceful. And I was like, yo, no one's ever done like a Uber ride before, where like if you pick up someone and then they just happen to be coming out of a studio, and then someone else happens to be a producer, and like, and then you happen to be a rapping Uber driver, and y'all just connect the aux cord, and then boom, start like a little cipher with while you're picking up other people on the Uber ride adventure. And then they're also like, you could tell the white girls in the back like, what the fuck is this about? No one ever did that. And I was like, yo, that's pretty, we should try that. And so after we did the treatment, my man Ezru, who's a dope ass video director based in Staten Island, Mexican dude, a real great person. Like, we started rocking. He's like, yo, he made it happen for us. And then the next video after that is a song called Stormborn, but it kind of breaks off with one of the passengers invites us over as a group now, because we developed a camaraderie from that Uber ride, to go to a I guess it's a art gallery to see an artist by the name of Anthony Boone, who has some art on display. And one of the name of the one of the paintings that I'm looking at, I thought it was rather interesting, because I was explaining like, like, damn, it has a lot of different like tiers, it looks like, and a cocktail of all these different themes and shit. It's like, it's funny that you say that. The painting is called Stormborn, and the name of the song is Stormborn, basically. And Stormborn means like you made it in this rain through all this weather and shit like that, but you're able to weather the storm and make it through the other side. Like, just to give you some insight, I'm Puerto Rican. I come from the Caribbean. Partially descendants from the Arawak native Tainos that are from there, and they had a god one of their many gods, but one of their gods was named Huracan, which is hurricane. You know what I'm saying? And it's a telling tale because it shows that it doesn't matter how many times hurricane came about there, these people were still resilient. Their huts were still there. They still made it through the hurricane on the other side of the storm, and they still were able to pass on that bloodline all the way down to this day to myself. You know what I mean? So like Stormborn is also stating like it doesn't matter if there's a pandemic. It doesn't matter if there's actually a hurricane like Sandy or Maria, that the lineage is, the legacy is going to continue on and shit like that. And that's a theme, an ongoing theme in our music, that it really doesn't matter what the circumstances, the music goes on, the legacy of music. There's a continuum that has not stopped from the days of our ancestors to now, to the days of our future, the future generations and shit like that. It's just ongoing, 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 ongoing. But I'm glad that you brought that up because I didn't think many people really paid attention to that. We put a lot of like insight and meanings inside of our videos, and we don't think that they actually pick up or get any steam. But someone like you, from Montreal could look at that and be like, "Oh, I see what you guys are doing."
Honestly,
it makes me feel better about myself and shit, and about what we
set it
doing.
up, like it just happened to play like one after the next, and they gave me the recommended, so I was going in the flow of it, right? And I'm like, you watch the line, and then you're in the group because like I'm like, who's DJ Static? I was like, who is this guy? And like I'm sure I've heard the name,
Yeah.
but like when you see a face for the first time, and you put that next to a name, it like changes a bit, and then it connects. So I'm watching him. He's super charismatic in the video. It's really interesting because like y'all, I don't know. Okay, I don't like a lot of music videos. I very rarely even remember stuff because there's not a lot of interesting to me. But then the following one, there was that whole painting thing, and the fact that it kind of felt like a storyline. It almost reminded me of that Lil Wayne storyline thing he did at one point. That like just it didn't. I don't like that one album, and it was like the videos kind of connected, and I'm like, that's really nifty. And
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that the two go in together, but in an artistic way. And it also was paying homage to Anthony Boone, who also is a blue collar artist because he used to work for Conrail, which Conrail is a local train company in this area on the East Coast. And he would like speak about like that his bones would be brittle from being cold out there connecting cars together and doing all this stuff but he would also, even at the end of the day when his bones were brittle and everything was fucked up, would still paint, you know what I mean, in the night in order for him to get his real true uh purpose, which was to paint, to do all that, the days of the snow and the rain and the sleet and all that shit. Is as hard as he put that shit on paint. And that's what I wanted to also exemplify on in that video and shit. A lot of our videos have meaning, you know what I'm saying? Even the recent video where we was is for this video called Three Kings Day. Three Kings Day is significant within the Puerto Rican community here in the New York City area because that's our real Christmas, you know what I mean? But on top of
I
that,
did not know
three,
that.
because
I had no idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
everything
Three
has
Kings,
like some
the other
everything
way.
has yeah, and also Three Kings because three people started the group. BMR was not only Don Tique and myself. It used to be my friend Juan, but as you know, he got murdered in 1999. He got murdered by his girlfriend and shit. So we wanted to always pay homage to him. But within the video, like I'm smoking a cigar, and like cigars, tobacco is also something that goes back to the natives of the Caribbean because they're the people that created the word tobacco. They used to smoke tobacco as in religious ceremonies and shit like that. So we kind of pay homage to our ancestors, pay homage to our friends through symbolism within our video. Everything that we put together in our videos, even within our music, everything has a purpose. We didn't just throw shit out there to throw shit out there. There is a stream of consciousness to a degree, like 50% organic and 50% organization. But even what we're doing organically is something that's deep in the subconscious that's manifesting on record. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's a purpose to why we write and what we do. We don't just do shit just to do shit. We haven't been doing this shit for all these years without there being some sort of meaning and symbolism and shit like that.
I can say
Even Ghost Lineage itself.
I
My
can
bad.
just say that I've never ever had anybody manage to justify smoking a cigar in a way where you almost made it sound like a moral responsibility, and that's fucking impressive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Legend
mean,
is a legend, B.
I don't like rarely. I never really understood the dynamics of what it is to smoke a cigar. I always assumed that it was something associated with like machismo or animal from like the A team. But then when I started finding out like the meaning of it and the purpose of it, and that it was more of a spiritual situation, and
Yeah,
I started looking at things like, wow, you know, I got this deep ass legacy and these deep roots that I'm disconnected from, which takes me back to the idea of ghost lineage. Like ghost lineage is the remnants of a lineage that does no longer exist or missing link. Like I have 20% Arawak ancestry. I never met these people. I can't speak Arawak, but I know that there's a disconnect, and but it lies in the shadows. Just like Weehawken is the name of the that Lenape name for that region, but no one knows what the fuck Weehawken means. We just know it's Weehawken, and
Weehawken
the
is
Lenape,
a
or
county in Jersey,
yeah,
right?
and there's no it's a municipality in Hudson County, or even
Municipality, right?
Communipaw. Communipaw was like a gathering place for all the natives of this side of the Hudson. Even Manhattan, like Manhattan wasn't the big part of this region. The big part of this region was on this side of the river for the Lenapes, and people don't know that because things have been redesigned after the decimation of the natives. Not saying that, you know, decimate the things like that would occur, because that's just what happens when humans come in contact with each other. People conquer this shit. I mean, the Romans did it to the Germans. The Germans did it to whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's just human nature. But what I'm saying is like the byproduct of that is what you have left over, and that's a ghost lineage. That's the remnants of something that you don't know you connected to, but it's still, you're still connected to it in the background and shit like that. And that's what we're exploring on this record. A lot of that shit is what we're going into, and the dynamic of Don Tique and our relationship going on from 1994 till now. And why is it that we are still glued together even though we lost one of our good friends? That's another mystery in itself. But there's a lot of symbolism in this album. I mean, even in the album cover, it shows us. If you notice, like both of our album covers, the way we started it off as it's in a, corridor. The first one was in an elevator, static files, and we were uncertain on where we were gonna go. And you could tell because you don't know if we're going up or we going down. I'm looking in one direction. Don Tique is looking at the panel, but it shows like the disconnect. But there's a beauty in that disconnect. When we actually took that picture, we had an argument with each other. When we took the picture for the ghost lineage shit, we had an argument with each other because we was arguing about like are we gonna be in the tracks or out the tracks? And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Are we in the tracks or out the tracks? But also, it
As we're
represents a
arguing some
core.
fucking dumb shit, but
Yeah,
that's the
but
shit that you argue when you're artistic
you know what?
brothers and you
I was watching a movie about Herzog or some guy. It was a
Herzog.
it was a
Yeah,
the guy, he's a director. He's a famous German director.
yeah,
And
famous German director. Yes,
there would be this let me see if I can find it. There would be this famous German actor and shit. Let's see. I think it's if I could find it.
is it
Herzog.
that famous scene with the raft
No,
that they made out of like,
yeah, no, it's called Fiscaraldo, right? And
and they're
one of
dressed
the
like conquistadors or something like that.
no, this is I think before that. So the movie was interesting because it was about this guy who was a rubber baron, or he wanted to become a rubber baron, and the reason why he wanted to generate money from the rubber industry, which was the most, prominent, the people that had a monopoly on rubber at that time was in Latin America, right? So he was in Peru and he wanted to get his money and create an opera house in the middle of the jungle, some weird shit like that. But the actor Klaus Kinski and dynamic relationship between him and the director Werner Herzog. Werner Herzog would actually aggravate um, Klinsky to get him upset so that he would
Yeah,
be so upset, but then he'll get into character, and that
yeah,
that
yeah.
that anger and all that shit would actually bleed well into the
To the
performance,
art.
which is
Yes,
kind of,
absolutely.
which is sometimes Don Tique and I go through that kind of shit where we be
Yeah,
like, yo,
yeah,
what the you know, because we knew each other for so long,
yeah.
but at the same time we could get under each other's skin. Whatever the case, the album for Ghost Lineage is another one of that symbolism where we're in a corridor, but uh, uh um this time not in an elevator, where the elevator you don't know if we're going up and down. We're in a corridor and it's a shadow and you don't know if we're going in or out. Are we coming out of this pandemic into the light, or are we going deeper into it, um into the darkness and shit like that? So that's
I mean,
left
if
for
you,
the that's left for people to interpret. You know what I mean? Just like with the elevator scene, you don't know if it's going up or it's going down. And that's what I'm saying. Like every time we put things together, we don't do things just to do it. There's something going on. Either we consciously are putting something in there, or the subconscious is pushing us to put things together in a certain way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.